In a small, sun-drenched village nestled between rolling hills lived a young man named Jad. He wasn't known for riches or land. In fact, he had very little to his name, but what Jad lacked in coins, he more than made up for in honesty and a heart full of kindness. He earned his keep by doing odd jobs for the villagers, and he always did them with a smile, never asking for more than what was fair. One day, while walking through the bustling market, a notice on the community board caught his eye. The royal family was hosting a grand festival at the palace, and everyone, rich or poor, was invited. Jad's heart leaped with excitement. He had never seen the palace up close, only hearing stories of its towering spires and magnificent gardens. He decided he would go, not to seek fortune, but simply to experience the wonder of it all. He put on his cleanest, though well-worn, tunic and set off on the long road to the capital. Along the way, he passed by an old woman struggling to carry a heavy basket of apples. Without a second thought, Jad rushed to her side. "Let me help you with that," he offered warmly. The woman, surprised and grateful, smiled. Jad carried her basket all the way to her small cottage, refusing any payment she offered. "Your smile is thanks enough," he told her. When Jad finally arrived at the palace, was in awe. The gates were wide open, and the air was filled with music, laughter, and the scent of delicious food. He wandered through the crowds, his eyes wide with wonder. He saw nobles in fine silks and jewels, but he also saw simple folk like himself, all enjoying the festivities together. As he stood near a beautiful fountain, he noticed something sparkling in the water. Reaching in, he pulled out a delicate golden bracelet, adorned with a single, perfect sapphire. It was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen, and he knew it must be incredibly valuable. For a moment a thought flickered in his mind. Selling this bracelet could change his life. He could buy a new house, new clothes, never have to worry about his next meal. But the thought vanished as quickly as it came. This wasn't his to keep. His integrity was worth more than any jewel. He immediately started asking people if they had lost a bracelet. No one claimed it. He then decided to find a royal guard and turn it in. He approached a stern-looking guard standing near the main hall. "Excuse me," Sir Jad said, holding out the bracelet. "I found this in the fountain. It must belong to someone important." The guard's eyes widened when he saw the bracelet. He quickly led Jad into the palace, through lavish halls and corridors, until they reached a grand room. There, on a velvet chair, sat a young woman with a worried expression. It was the princess. The guard presented the bracelet, and the princess's face lit up with relief. "My bracelet. I thought it was lost forever." She turned to Jad, her eyes filled with gratitude. "Thank you. You have no idea how much this means to me. It was a gift from my late mother." The princess, intrigued by the young man's simple clothes yet noble actions, asked him his name and where he was from. Jad told her his story, not complaining about his poverty, but speaking with pride about his work in his village. The princess listened, deeply moved by his sincerity and honesty. She offered him a large bag of gold as a reward. Jad politely refused. "Your Highness, seeing the joy on your face is all the reward I need. I only did what anyone should have done." The princess was astonished. In a world where so many sought wealth and power, here was a young man who valued honor above all else. "Your character is the greatest treasure of all," she said. "Please, allow me to reward you in a different way." She appointed Jad as the royal keeper of the palace gardens, a position of trust and responsibility. Jad accepted with a grateful heart. He worked diligently, tending to the beautiful flowers and trees. His life transformed not by gold, but by his own unwavering honesty. And from that day forward, he and the princess became the closest of friends, a bond built on respect and true integrity. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more inspiring stories. In a forgotten corner of a sprawling kingdom, nestled between sun-drenched hills and a whispering river, lived a young woodcutter named Jad. Life for Jad was simple, a daily rhythm of swinging his axe and hauling wood. His only wealth, the calluses on his hands, and the honesty in his heart. The kingdom was ruled by a kind but distant king, whose daughter, Princess Zoya, was known more for her beautiful gowns than for her connection to the people. One day, a royal decree echoed through the land. The magnificent royal gardens, once the pride of the kingdom, had fallen into neglect. Weeds choked the life from vibrant roses, and the fountains, once singing with clear water, were now silent and still. The king offered a handsome reward to anyone who could restore the gardens to their former glory. Many tried, drawn by the promise of gold, but the task was immense, and one by one they gave up. Jad, however, saw not a challenge for gold, but a chance to bring beauty back to a place that had lost its soul. He presented himself at the palace gates, his worn-out clothes a stark contrast to the polished marble. The guards scoffed, but Princess Zoya, intrigued by his earnest gaze, granted him the opportunity. "Let's see what a woodcutter can do where others have failed," she said, a hint of amusement in her voice. Day after day, Jad toiled. He didn't just pull weeds. He learned their nature. He didn't just clear paths. He listened to the stones. He pruned the ancient trees with a gentle hand, coaxing life back into their gnarled branches. He spoke to the flowers as he watered them, his soft voice a balm to their withered spirits. The garden began to respond. New buds appeared, shyly at first, then bursting forth in a riot of color. The scent of jasmine and honeysuckle once again filled the air. Princess Zoya watched from her balcony, her initial amusement turning to quiet admiration. She saw not a laborer seeking payment, but an artist at work, a man who seemed to understand the secret language of the earth. She started visiting the garden, no longer just to inspect his progress, but to walk alongside him, listening as he shared stories of the forest and the secrets of each plant. One sweltering afternoon, while clearing a thick, thorny bush that had long since died, Jad's shovel struck something hard. It wasn't a rock. Brushing away the soil, he unearthed an old, iron-bound chest. With a creak of protest from its rusty hinges, the lid opened. Jad's breath caught in his throat. Inside, gold coins shimmered, and jewels of every color threw rainbows of light onto his face. It was a treasure beyond his wildest dreams, enough to change his life, to buy him a grand house and fine clothes, to free him from a lifetime of chopping wood. For a moment, he was tempted. The weight of the gold felt heavy and real in his hands. He could simply take it. Who would ever know? The bush had been dead for years, the chest forgotten by time. But then he thought of the garden, of the trust the princess had shown him, of the simple pride he felt in his honest work. This treasure wasn't his. It belonged to the kingdom, to the history of this place he had grown to love. His integrity was a treasure he had earned himself, and it was not for sale. Without a second thought, he lifted the heavy chest and carried it directly to the princess. He found her by the newly restored fountain, its water now dancing and singing. He set the chest down before her. "Your Highness, aside simply I found this while tending to your garden." Princess Zoya stared, first at the dazzling treasure, then at Jad's face, sincere and untroubled. She had expected him to ask for his reward for restoring the garden. But this was an act of honesty she had only read about in stories. She saw in him not a poor woodcutter, but a man of immense wealth, a wealth of character. "Jad," she said, her voice filled with a new respect, "you have given me back more than just my garden. You have shown me what true honor looks like. The gold in this chest is mere metal, but your honesty is a rare gem." She closed the lid. "This kingdom needs men like you, not just in its gardens, but in its councils." From that day on, Jad was no longer just the royal gardener. The princess appointed him as her personal advisor, a trusted friend whose wisdom was sought on matters great and small. He never moved into a grand chamber, preferring his humble cottage near the woods, but his voice became one of the most respected in the kingdom. And as he walked through the flourishing gardens with the princess, they both knew that the greatest treasure they had found was not made of gold, but of the trust and integrity that had blossomed between them. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like and subscribe for more. Have you ever wondered if a single act of honesty could change your entire life? Today, I want to share a story about a young boy named Leo, whose life proves that it absolutely can. Leo lived in a small, humble village. His family didn't have much, but they had a wealth of love and integrity. From a young age, his mother taught him, Honesty is the most valuable thing you own, Leo. Never lose it. Leo took this lesson to heart. Every day after school, he would help his father, a carpenter, in his small workshop. The scent of sawdust and the rhythm of the hammer were the soundtrack to his childhood. He wasn't just helping, he was learning, watching his father craft beautiful furniture with skill and dedication. One day, a wealthy merchant from the city announced a competition. He was looking for an apprentice to learn his trade and eventually take over his prosperous business. The test was simple. Each applicant was given a special, rare seed and told to grow the most beautiful plant they could within 6 months. The winner would be chosen based on the result. Leo was thrilled. This was his chance to lift his family out of poverty. He took the seed home and planted it in the best pot he could find, using the most fertile soil from their small garden. He watered it every single day, made sure it got plenty of sunlight, and protected it from pests. He poured all his hope and effort into that little pot. Weeks turned into months. Other kids in the village boasted about their sprouting plants, their vibrant leaves, and their budding flowers. But Leo's pot remained empty. Nothing grew. Not a single sprout. He felt a knot of disappointment in his stomach. He tried changing the soil, adjusting the sunlight, and altering his watering schedule, but nothing worked. His seed just wouldn't grow. He felt like a failure. The day of the judgment arrived. The town square was filled with an amazing display of lush, beautiful plants. There were towering flowers, exotic ferns, and colorful bushes. Leo felt embarrassed to bring his empty pot, but his father patted him on the back and said, "You did your best, and you were honest about the result. That's what matters." So, with his head held low, Leo carried his pot of dirt to the square. The other children laughed at him. Look at Leo. He couldn't even grow a weed. The merchant walked along the rows, inspecting each magnificent plant. He looked serious, almost disappointed, as he passed by one stunning plant after another. Then, he reached Leo. He stopped and looked at the empty pot. He asked, "What happened here, son?" Leo, trying not to cry, explained everything. He told the merchant how he had cared for the seed every single day, how he had done everything he could, but it just wouldn't grow. The merchant's serious expression suddenly broke into a wide smile. He raised his voice for everyone to hear. "I have found my apprentice. This young boy, Leo." The crowd gasped in confusion. The merchant continued, "The seeds I gave you all were boiled. They were sterile. It was impossible for them to grow. I don't know how all of you grew these beautiful plants, but I do know that only one of you was honest enough to bring me an empty pot. That is the kind of integrity I want in my business." Leo stood there, stunned. His honesty, the very thing that made him feel like a failure, was what made him a winner. That day, Leo's life changed forever. He went to the city, worked hard under the merchant's guidance, and eventually became a successful and respected businessman himself. But he never forgot where he came from or the lesson his mother taught him. His story became a legend in his village, a reminder that true success isn't just about what you achieve, but how you achieve it. Honesty and hard work are seeds that, even if they don't bloom where you expect, will always yield the most valuable harvest. Thank you so much for watching. If this story inspired you, please hit that like button and subscribe for more content. See you next time.